let me just kind of recap what we heard today, and also encourage you to fill out the survey because one of the things we try to do with this event is make it better every time we deliver it. And we have the event in December. Typically more on the Americas side, but then a global event in Stockholm. And as you can see here, that will be in May of next year. We've been doing developer days for at least 10 years. And, we've been trying to improve it. And, one of those improvements was breaking out a developer track and an operations track. So we heard you there. And, any other things that you think we should improve on, please let us know in the survey. Um, so in terms of kind of what we heard today, I think it's a little bit for everybody, right? So some of you have been with us for a long time, for 10 years, and some of you are new. Um, but I think one of the takeaways I heard was, if you remember the first session today from Javier on AI for network ops, um, we all know this thing called AI is coming, right? It's coming strong at us, and there's going to be a lot of uh, really fantastic use cases that are going to develop over time. But but in order to get to that point, there's things we're going to have to do in terms of modernizing these networks from an automation perspective. Using the products or tools similar to what you heard today. Just magically, AI is not just going to work in your network. You're going to have the proper data collection tools, to get all the telemetry from the network, and you're going to have to figure out how that is you know uh, uh, mapped to the services and the configurations. If you want to do anything interesting in terms of closed loop automation and moving traffic flows around, so all the tools like the workflow engine, the network controller, the planning tool, those are all under the hood of how the AI systems will eventually work with the network. So it's important that we begin to modernize and begin to develop using these tools today. And you can do that with uh, bringing these into your labs or into your networks to kick the tires. I think the local account teams are more than happy to work with you to demo and to proof of concept these things to see if they meet your needs. So we're more than happy for you to try them out and then decide if they're going to work for you. There were a few questions that we didn't get to that I want to get back to because we still have time here. Um, so Krishnan, since you kind of went a little over, so we didn't get to all the questions that were being asked for your session on the customization pieces. And um, so are the packages, all the packages you reference, are they available on GitHub for use?
Yeah, so the package that I referred to where we download GitHub, that's basically where we are keeping all our, let's say, sample or demo grade packages to work with other vendor routers. Uh, that can be your starting point. It's you can access it, but usually either you have our professional services or partners working with you to test in your lab and then taking to production. And that's what we would recommend for service health packages. You could export, edit yourself. Again, with a little bit of training, anybody should be able to do it. I think what I would say is that the what we showed today, we can definitely share it, but the to work with the as part of the integration test when you have other vendor routers with the specific configs. A lot of the time, I would say 80% of the time goes in just figuring out what are the let's say, set of configurations you want, and even more time on figuring out the SNP MIBs or YAG path that will tell you the status, and then building the HP itself is not too long. But yeah, the samples are available as a starting point. More testing in your labs, and then go to production and have CX help you with that.
Okay, great. And one last one for you. Can all of the service health uh, functions work with GNMI? I think this is a good one because, obviously, GNMI and SNMP are the two approaches that the industry is using to pull telemetry off of the routers. And I think the ball is bouncing towards GNMI. It's more efficient. It's more programmable. I was on a call recently with a customer who said they don't want SNMP. They want to just completely get off of SNMP. So I guess what's the answer there? Do all the service health features work with GNMI?
Oh, yes. So from CNC perspective, that would also be our preferred approach, is that use GNMI, because GNMI is definitely more helpful to the controllers, because you don't have to send a SNP pull packet and wait and lock a lot of compute resources on any kind of collection infrastructure we build. And everything from the CNC side that we are shipping with the out of box, I would say everything, but maybe 90% of it is GNMI based. But we do have SNP for things that are not supported with GNMI. That's a big problem with GNMI, is that the set of YAG models that are available for operational information is not as pervasive. And even if it's pervasive in a vendor, meaning even if it's rich in a vendor specific context, the open config version of it's even lagging behind, meaning the open config versions of some of the operational models are coming even slower, right? Depending on the industry interest. So from the CNC side and collection, we prefer it if it's available. And really, SNMP should be only used where you're not getting the same information, where GNMI, and you may even find that you have to do some CLI scraping. We do have some libraries and frameworks where you can plug in CLI. Today, we don't offer that as something that customers would do themselves, so for some good reasons. But our CX can implement, let's say, seed implementation of some CLI if both GNMI and SNP didn't work for whatever reason. So that's it's not really performed at all, meaning the number of collections you do, we would recommend go with either a lower cadence or less number of devices per collection VM and so on. SNMP is scale of order better, and GNMI is scale of order better than SNMP. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
if you're building this from scratch, you're going to go right to GNMI, right? But
yeah,
again, we have to be able to support existing networks and multi vendors that may not have other vendors that might not have certain capabilities. So I guess we support all the options. Thank you, Julia. Two questions. The first would be crossword planning. Can crossword planning deploy optimization changes to the real network using APIs? Which is actually a really great question, because when we start thinking of the future with AI, I see crossword planning and the optimization engine as instrumental in how closed loop will work. So I guess can you deploy changes into the real network using APIs from crossword planning?
Sure. Thanks, John. Yes, so actually that is a good question. So as we saw in crossword planning, we have these all Python APIs, right? So there is nothing that stops us to build that script and use those APIs in order to maybe build a sequence of the recommendations provided by crossword planning and then deploy into the network. However, because we are also aligned into the autonomous network framework, right? So I think that the idea would be that we need to have a controller or maybe an orchestrator that will be communicating with the actual network and do the provisioning, right? So in this case, crossword planning should be acting as an offline tool maybe build all the recommendations and then via API communicate to the controller or to the orchestrator. And it should be the functionality of the orchestrator to provision into the network, right? So
Right.
this is the way how it should
And
work.
in our case, that orchestrator would be CNC.
So the controller could be CNC, or if customers have NSO in place, it could be also NSO, right? Or workflow manager, why not?
Okay, great. And a quick one, does crossword planning also expose REST APIs?
Yeah, so that is a good question also. So actually today, crossword planning does have some REST APIs, but those APIs are mainly to set up the SDK client. So there are only few REST APIs today. But yes, we are planning to add more APIs in the future, in next releases, in order to expose the simulation tools of cross planning, and why not also to access into the network model. So that is in our plans.
Okay, thank you. Jesse, we have one question for you. Are non-SP use cases in the roadmap for RAC? Example here is integration with full stack observability tools. I'm not sure if that makes sense, but does it make sense? I mean, non-SP RAC use cases.
I mean, the way that we're prioritizing the use cases is we're looking for things that are commonly used across our group of users, right? Our customer set. And so that doesn't necessarily mean that we're limited, we're not going to do non-SP. It's really use case specific, right? Like what are the functions, what are the things that our customers are doing all the time that they really have a need to automate and have an out of the box use case for? So I suppose the short answer there is no, it's not limited. We could do non-SP use cases. It depends what the specific use case is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, workflow, it's whatever the user wants to do, right? And, you're
Yeah.
providing the tools and whether the network is an SP network or a enterprise network, it's still a network that needs to be upgraded and controlled.
Exactly.
Maybe the question was more around like things like, wireless access points or things that you typically would get in an enterprise network versus, the typical router SP products. But okay.
And to elaborate, just you were hitting the nail on the head there. Remember we're talking about two different pieces of this, CWM and RAC. CWM, you can do whatever you want. You take that, you build the workflows that you want to build. RAC is those prepackaged out of the box, use it on day one. So that's the distinction there of, what are we going to build versus what are we going to enable you to build?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I don't see any other questions. So I guess, let's just wrap up here. And again, I want to thank, everybody, especially the end customers, end users who are on the line and stuck with us on this. Hopefully it was useful. I think, again, it's a little bit for everybody. Some of it's a bit, overwhelming, fire hose, but the hope is that, send us your input, send us your feedback. We'll try to do more, in the next session. We hope you can join us in Stockholm. I usually go to Stockholm, even though I'm America's based. I'll go to Stockholm. It's not just a European show; it's a global. And a lot of the automation team is based in Stockholm, so you get the actual Cisco developers who are there. Stockholm's a beautiful city, so definitely try and make it. Again, this is a journey, so you need to start somewhere. We can start with something simple, and then over time, we'll work with you to get to the final objective, which is the autonomous network, AI-driven system. But hopefully these tools and these products and the multi-vendor aspects of them are going to be something you can leverage. With that, I guess it's a wrap. Thank you again, and have a great holiday. And again, thank you for attending and being a good Cisco partner.